Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Only Stupid Answers. My name is DJ Wooldridge, and with me is Roxy Striar to discuss WandaVision Episode 7, Breaking the Fourth Wall. Monica plots her return, Wanda navigates unsettling complications, and Vision forms a new alliance. This episode was directed by Matt Shackman and written by Cameron Squires. And I gotta say, plots is a very nefarious term to put with Monica there, but whatever. She's scheming her way to get back into the hex. Let's dive right into this episode. We are now what appears to be firmly within the 2010s. I brought up online that I was frustrated that we skipped the 90s, and I got a like but actuallys on Twitter about well, we don't know the exact
they
dates.
were like, but the last one was 80s into the 90s.
And so roughly, we're roughly in the 2010s. So we're riffing on The Office, Parks and Rec, Modern Family. I don't know about you, Roxy. I got very much Modern Family vibes, except for the intro, which was very Office vibes.
Yeah, definitely. The reason I felt more Modern Family was because of the chair, which seemed more like the couch because it was less an office space. And so it's in the home, and Modern Family does this in the home. So that. Yeah, yes. She was very Julie Bowen chilling. And yeah.
So... right off the bat, I wanted to ask you, we're spending some time with Wanda. She's decided to, quote unquote, punish herself by taking a day off, taking a me day. So the kids end up going with Agnes. Pietro is just gone. It's just, we've, I guess, determined that he was an imposter and he's just not here anymore. But something I wanted to ask you is right off the bat, I thought the tone was really weird because we're talking about some really existentially dark stuff, but we're doing it in the tone of Modern Family. So like the music and everything is acting as if jokes are occurring, but instead of it being like, I think there's merit in that kind of like lack of harmony, that discord that can create in the two tones, but instead it just felt weird. It just felt like somebody telling a joke that wasn't funny and nobody's laughing.
So I actually feel pretty similarly to you, DJ, in terms of the fact that what we've watched Elizabeth Olsen do every week is we've watched her nail different decades of comedy. Mm-hmm. And so they have been like actual funny sitcom episodes.
Yes.
And this wasn't that. I don't know whether that was on purpose or on accident, but I don't know whether it was her or the everything going on around her. This was not the strongest of the sitcoms.
Yeah.
This was like a, for lack of better words, I guess she would say things like, that's just Monday for you. Mm-hmm. And usually when she would say something like that in a previous episode, I would laugh because it would be funny.
Yeah.
But here I was like, that was really awkward. And it was like, if this was not a mystery show and if this was not a Marvel show, if this was a sitcom, this would have been a bad sitcom for the first week yet.
Yeah.
This was not a good sitcom. So, but I don't know, maybe that was on purpose as things are getting more realized and it's not that funny. Maybe that's what the show was trying to do. Just to me, one of my favorite aspects of the show has been the sitcom element. And this was the first week where I was like, oh, the sitcom doesn't work when it's not working.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, it's a tough tightrope act. And we'll get into more stuff later. I feel like there's stuff with this episode for me where things aren't clicking, which is a little bit concerning because we're entering the end game. And so it'd be good if I was like, oh, here's what we're doing, as opposed to like, oh, this is what we're doing. So we'll see. Anyway, meanwhile, Vision teams up with Darcy, who is the escape artist at the circus, which again, it's weird that we're doing the circus thing in the 2010s. Circuses aren't really a thing, but anyway, now
why do they do that?
I think maybe it's supposed to be that this is how Wanda views them, that this is the sword situation is a circus. I will say, we just kind of talked about
It's
how
a metaphor, DJ.
how the jokes didn't quite land for us. Two that did for me. One, Agnes's Catherine Hahn's little aside where she's like, "Oh yeah, I bet a kid once." That was like, "Oh, that's actually that genuinely made me laugh." And also Darcy just like popping her chains and walking away. I'm like, "Oh, that was pretty good." That was I don't know if I understand this circus thing, but if it was to get that joke, it almost justifies it.
I like both those things also. I also it's not that I didn't like the circus. I had a lot of fun with the circus this time, actually. It didn't make sense for me in this decade.
Yeah.
It's not that circuses don't exist anymore. It's just that we went through the decades in which circuses were prominent. So you would think that if they were going to use a circus, but the circus was fine for me because I liked, what did work for me about this episode was Wanda thinking that Vision wanted to stay away, Vision thinking that Wanda wanted him to stay away, and then the reveal of ultimately what was happening.
Yeah.
So it did make sense plot-wise. We had to put him somewhere, and I didn't want to watch him on a park bench. So and also with the way that he looks and his aesthetics, it's like, oh, he's part of the circus.
Yeah.
All of that kind of made sense to me. That part worked.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. So finally we get Vision connecting up with a character outside of the Hex with Darcy, and Darcy essentially serves the function that she served this entire show. She's the exposition person, and so she explains. She's burdened with not only explaining this show, but like the Infinity War, the whole shebang. And
not a fun job for her.
Not the greatest job. She does a perfectly fine job doing it, but you know. And of course, as they're trying to get to Wanda, as you mentioned before, like these roadblocks come up that he thinks is Wanda, and now I think it's safe to assume that it was not Wanda that was causing these roadblocks. My major question throughout the sequence is why are we in this van? Why doesn't Vision just fly away? Which eventually he does, but like he could probably carry Darcy. Like I don't know, I don't even know why we bothered with it. He could have just picked her up and just flown away.
I don't know. Do you think that that's a plot hole, or do you think that there was a reason for that?
I think the reason for that is they needed Vision. They wanted Vision to talk to Darcy. Doing that with flying would have either looked goofy or cost too much money. So they put him on but I think it's purely production reasons, which it leads to some of my concerns about the rest of the episode. I feel like sometimes the MCU, you can feel watching the MCU stuff, you can just feel the creators be like, good enough. And they're right. They very rarely get pushback from the fan base on stuff like, why is this happening? What's the logistical reason? Why are characters doing this? Why are they behaving this way? Whatever, it doesn't matter, and we move on. I felt a lot of that this episode. Like, so again, why are they in the van? Because they need to talk, and that's it. There's no in-universe reason for it.
Yeah, I think that I would push back a little bit by saying I don't know why they don't do it while flying, but if I'm Vision, I want answers.
Yeah,
and so it does make sense that, like, I mean, this is kind of a ridiculous thing to say, but it does make sense for.
When I would like to talk to somebody, I would rather sit in the car and go for a drive and like get down to the bottom of things, looking at them and asking questions, I guess. So I don't know. That part didn't bother me too bad either, but it does. That combined with all the stuff that we ultimately learn about Agatha, which is all that's going on in my mind right now.
Spoilers, Agnes. Spoilers.
You know what was crazy? Can we talk about that for a second, DJ?
Yes.
Okay, so here is the funniest thing about the internet, because I don't know, did you see all of these internet tweets about Agnes? Every single person tweeted the exact same series of things, and it was hysterical to watch it, to go through it tonight. But it was like, it would say, Agnes is definitely Agatha. Who, by the way, I keep calling Agatha Christie instead of Agatha Harkness.
I like it. I think that's hilarious. But yeah,
my brain is definitely Agnes. The show. I'm not just Agnes. I'm Agatha. Me, like jaw on the floor. And that's exactly what happened. Like everybody knew, but then when it was announced, everybody was like, what? And sometimes things be like that, DJ. Sometimes it's like that, where like, even though you know something, when they reveal it, it's shocking. And so at face value, I was stoked on this because I think that she is so phenomenal and fun
Catherine
to
Hahn.
watch. Yes.
Agreed.
Yeah. I think that she's so phenomenal and fun to watch that, like, now me knowing that moving forward in some capacity, I'm going to see Catherine Hahn go from what she was doing to something else. And like, even that I had fun with the theme song and I had fun with all that stuff. I was like, oh, cool. This is cool. However, because there's still another big bad, right? There's no way she's the big bad. And then is she working with fill in the blank Mephisto, transfer that name to whoever it is that you want it to be?
Yeah.
Or is so why was she catering to Wanda? And maybe all these questions have answers, maybe they don't. Her killing the dog, that still doesn't really explain why Wanda can't bring him back, but maybe because of the magic part of it.
Yeah.
Wanda didn't sense any other magic the whole time. Are Wanda's powers broken?
Yeah. Also, they visualize Agatha's abilities similar to Wanda's, but that doesn't make sense because Wanda's got her, unless Agatha also got her abilities from the Mind Stone, or the Mind Stone literally just gave Wanda magic powers, like whatever magic is in this world. That's her power, is that she now gets to do that.
What in the comics does Agatha have powers from?
She's a witch. She's so she is a witch. Does she have them
from birth?
I think it's similar to Doctor Strange in that learned trained abilities. Okay. There's the complicated thing in the comics, because Wanda is not magic in that sense. She's a mutant traditionally. She's a mutant, so she is born with that ability, and it's not magic. It's whatever hex ability, mutant power she has, and so it's not quite as strange in this, but it is because she didn't become a magic user like Doctor Strange did. She was given these powers through the Mind Stone. So why are Agatha's power other than the again, production, like outside of the show, production wise, I understand why you want to visualize Agatha's ability similarly, because Marvel loves the, like, I'm the bad version of you. They love that shit. As far as the internal I don't know that the internal logic of the show works. And that's one of the things, and it's that seems like a little thing, but it's all of the little things that are now like making me like, wow, I kind of don't know what we're doing.
Yeah. But it was funny, like the I killed Sparky and what I was like, yeah.
Well, you got Catherine Hahn, like you mentioned, and also the idea of Catherine Hahn full on playing a Marvel villain is incredibly exciting. Yeah. But then, and not to jump ahead, but then when you get specifically like I killed the dog, funny line, and then you're like, but why? Like, wait, so like my master plan is I'm going to kill this dog so that Wanda has a breakthrough? Like, how did that? It did. The outcome of that wasn't even negative. Like, I don't know.
Maybe that was something about the boys. Because on them for a second, what's the basement lead to?
Agatha's secret lair. Also,
that's where the twins are.
It's also kind of implied that she might have turned them into animals, which is also confusing because, like, she's like, "Where's the boys?" And then she sees the bunny. And it's like, yeah, but we saw the bunny earlier. So if you're trying to tell me the boy's the bunny, that doesn't make sense.
Unless he's like his spirit is in there. Yeah, I don't know.
But also, I mean, to be fair, how do the boys exist? Like, what are they really? We're getting ahead of ourselves.
For the children,
the children. We're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. Let's go back to Monica and other questions I have. So Monica, multiple episodes now, she's like, my engineer buddy. We get there, literally not even a mention of this person who we identified specifically as a guy.
Last week she says he's over on the ridge.
He is literally there.
Still is DJ.
He's over there. He's over there. But we get there and we meet some military people that I guess are not sword, but are friends with Monica, and just either A had this thing.
No, they built it very fast. You saw how long it took us to make a vaccination, but this,
boom. And in their defense, I know like Tony Stark's pooping out armors every couple hours. So, the fabrication system in the MCU is like on point. They're able to get stuff going. She goes to, I guess, ram the thing through the hex. It doesn't go well because it's being transformed. And then Monica is like,
is it being transformed because Wanda is doing that?
I don't know.
Right. Because they're like, its coding is changing. And I was like, so Wanda knows there's an enemy and she's doing that, or she did that and that's part of its coding is to change when this happens.
I mean, okay, so my interpretation would be it's like a firewall in your computer. You set it up and then you just let it do its thing. You know what I mean? So she set it up. Although we've seen that she's having trouble maintaining the hex, the illusion that she's in. So for whatever reason, this truck is not able to get through. And then Monica's like, I can get through.
Okay, so DJ, this is my stop part for a second.
Yes.
Did I miss something? Why did she all of a sudden, after this like deteriorate and she can't get through in this sphere, why does she know she can get through? I felt like I missed a beat.
Okay, so I have a theory on this, and then maybe you can help me with stuff I struggle but it leads right into stuff that I don't think I understand that I also felt like I missed a beat. So what I got out of it is that the more force you're exerting to get into the hex, the more it's going to try and force you back out. Mm-hmm. So trying to drive this big old truck through, problem. Just walking through, not as much of a problem. And the reason we wanted the truck...
Anybody could walk through, or her because her genetic makeup?
I think anybody can walk through. They didn't want her to do it because she'd already been futzed with twice now. And so they didn't know what a third time would do. But then what does that mean for everybody that was already in the hex, right? And also, why is it changing? Like, I get... Because the clothes are being rewritten. The people aren't. Their genetic makeup is not being rewritten. I thought maybe it is. Also, here's what I think they might be doing beyond. And again, this is a thing that feels like a checklist thing. We need Monica to have powers. Here's how. It doesn't matter. It's good enough, right?
She like Thors onto the ground.
She has abilities now. Like in her eyes glow. She's able to see, I guess, different light spectrums. She is at the point where she has abilities that in her defense look cool. It is cool. It's not that it's not cool.
Everything in the show looks cool. Everything in the show looks cool. Period.
It looks cool. I'm cool with her having abilities. I don't know what code name they're going to go with. I think in the comics right now it's Spectrum. That Monica Rambeau is a cool character. I'm down with all that. I don't know that, like, why is going through the hex rewriting her genetics? The only thing I can think of is she
already had it inside her. It awakened it.
Maybe she already had it inside her. That's actually, that might be what they go with. The other thing I'm thinking of is I wonder if they're trying to lay the groundwork for Wanda to be the one that creates mutants. Either, and this is not a good idea, I don't think, everybody that is currently in the hex ends up becoming a mutant, or Monica does, in the comics, of course, Wanda notoriously says no more mutants and essentially gets rid of mutants on Earth, and they might try to pull a reverse, and then she does a thing that creates mutants across the planet, and boom, now we have mutants, and we're moving on, which I'm actually not against. Again, I just don't want them to try and integrate the Fox movie. Like, whatever the simplest explanation is, do that to get X-Men into the universe. I don't know. I'm also a big proponent of them having always been there, and we just didn't know. But whatever. But that's the only reason I can think of why, other than we need Monica to get powers. The only reason I can think we're doing all this genetic rewriting thing is that they're trying to set up Wanda to be the source of mutants in the MCU.
If Wanda creates mutants, you mean involuntarily when she pushed her out, she created her as a mutant on accident? You don't mean on purpose she made her into a mutant?
Yeah, I think I mean by accident. I think that's what I mean.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm okay with that. That's fine by me. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. My bigger confusion is like, what exactly does that look like? And then why, when we see Monica snooping around, I'm bouncing around a lot here, DJ.
That's
Are we
fine.
okay with that?
Yeah,
okay.
that's fine.
We see Monica Monica snooping around, and she ends up finding the storm doors to get to the basement and whatever. And then Evan Peters is there. Did you see this part?
No, wait.
Okay, so there is a
hold on. I'm so sorry. Finish your thought, and then I have another question that just occurred to me.
I should have said this to you.
Mm-hmm.
There was a mid-credit scene.
Oh no! I gave up on those. I gave up on because the last however many episodes have not had them. Oh no!
I almost did not see this either. So here's what happens in the mid-credit scene.
Thank you.
So Monica is snooping around the house.
Yeah.
And there's a storm door, and she opens it, and Agatha thing or something, whatever's down there, woo woo woo.
Yeah.
She's kind of looking into it, and Evan Peters says like, I don't remember what he says, something like boo or like whatever. It looks like he's gonna like shove her into the pit.
Oh. Shit.
So he makes an appearance, and clearly it seems like he's working with Agatha.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to check that out. I'm excited to when I get a chance. I'm excited to check that out.
I wish I probably didn't just describe it very well.
It's fine. I want to apologize to everybody watching the review that I didn't see it, but you do that.
Why would you have known? Why would you have known to see that? They did not set up a world in which that's the way they did things. So the only reason I saw that is because I watched this. I finished this. I kept the credits playing because music.
Yeah.
Went to brush my teeth, heard talking, and was like, huh?
Wait, what? So, well, thank you for letting me know that. For those that have not seen it, there's a post credit or mid credit scene.
Mid credit, yeah.
Here's the other thing that just occurred to me that goes back to why was Monica able to get through? Her spacesuit doesn't change, does it? She keeps her uniform.
Yeah.
Why?
Magic.
Oh no, I don't like it. Well, again, I'm excited. I will say, and I feel like this is one of those like the little like arrow points to it in the thumb, like, but it's a stretch kind of a thing. I will say her sword uniform, the spacesuit uniform with sword, obviously it has the sword logo on it. It's not that far off from a Fantastic Four uniform. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the Fantastic Four are end up being sword agents or whatever, sword researchers that wear uniforms like that and then get Fantastic Four, and then their Fantastic Four uniforms or versions of that. The color scheme and the layout, I was like, that kind of looks like Fantastic Four. Maybe I'm reaching. I don't know.
I have a couple more questions for you.
Please, let's help each other out here.
If we're in the questions section of this all. So with the information I just told you,
yes.
If this means that Agatha and Quicksilver, Evan Peters Quicksilver, are working together, why?
Mm-hmm.
And do you think Evan Peters is going to end up not being Quicksilver? He's Mephisto, and he's really the boss here. And also, do you think we're ever going to get an answer as to why he does not look like Aaron Taylor Johnson? I
think the answer to him not looking like Aaron Taylor Johnson, for me, is pretty straightforward. Oh, is it though? That's okay. Actually, never mind. It's not, because it's like, well, because she can't bring him back. I was like, well, yeah, but she theoretically, if Agatha has magic powers, she could just make it look like Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Like if it's a shapeshift, I mean, if it is somebody,
that can change their look. Why that, and also why the one from the Fox movies. Also. I mean, so we last few episodes we haven't really talked about the ads. The ad this week was for like an antidepressant medication called Nexus. That the ad like talks about reality stuff. So it's like maybe whoever's messing with Wanda has awareness of the multiverse. So he just picked a Quicksilver. He picked the appearance of a Quicksilver from there, or she, because at this point, when we do the montage at the end of Agatha doing her stuff, one of them is her waving her hand and then magic coming off of Pietro. So maybe she made Pietro. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Agatha is working with a bigger bad, or if Agatha's is the bigger bad here. Like I could see it going either way and kind of working. What I have trouble with, and now that we're in it to win it, going back to the montage, I don't like, we see her at moments, like see her with Pietro showing up, and it's like that tracks, but then there's other things where we see her at the magic show, but we know that like what was going wrong at the magic show was Vision was gummed up. So the only reason she would have caused that is if somehow she was responsible for getting the gum. And if that's the case, why didn't we show her being responsible for giving him the gum? Why did we show her at the magic show? Like it's one of those things that like, okay, Agnes is Agatha Harkness. We kind of all saw that coming. Cool. But the more I think about it, it's like, we saw her with the neighbor, but when in episode 3, but when Vision came out there, I don't know if it makes sense with what we presented. I think there was one version of Agatha Harkness to create the mystery, and now we're presented with the real Agatha Harkness, but that narratively those two actually don't connect, because you can't, like, I can't justify her. Like, why was she at the car at the edge of the hex if she's the one responsible? Because it didn't do anything nefarious. She just gave him, like, I don't understand what the plan would be.
The thing I do feel good about here, DJ, is the fact that they clearly, because this clearly was all shot by the time we started seeing the first episode. Yeah. They clearly did not do something and then think, we need a way to answer these questions. Let's make her the big bad. Mm-hmm. Clearly, the whole time that was their goal. Clearly, that was laid out for them from the jump. Yeah. There's no way that they started writing this and then they were like, how do we solve this? Okay, she's the way we solve this. Yeah. So they knew it the whole time, meaning that in some world it must make sense. Okay. Because that's my theory. You know, it's not like I'm watching an ABC show that may or may not be called How to Get Away with Murder. and we, on season 8, have to explain how this went down in season 1. And they clearly, for all of the pros of that show, you clearly have to create something and be like, okay, does that check out? Does that check out? Like, for this, they obviously knew she was the reason. So I think there's probably answers to all of these questions. Whether we're going to see them or not, I don't know, because those might just be like writer room answers that somebody asks in the room. Like, so why did she kill the dog? And then they kind of have a great conversation about it, and they smoke a doobie and they're like, yep, nailed it. Yep. So I do think there's probably answers to all of this, but that doesn't necessarily satisfy me right now. I would like to know more. And one of the other questions I am curious about is, if this is Agatha doing all of this, and maybe this was answered and maybe I just didn't understand it, why are we going back in time?
In which sense?
The TV is turning back to the old school TV. The stuff by the fireplace is going back to the old school. The wallpaper is changing back to old school stuff. Why are we doing that? Why is Agatha doing that? What is that doing?
Well, I think then it goes back to
remotes, goes back to Uno cards.
I think like it's supposed to be, the implication earlier on is that Wanda is losing control. She's expanded the hex and she's starting to lose control of it. And so then the question then goes back to how much of that is Wanda and how much of that is Agatha, excuse me. What's Agatha's end game?
Right. I just have to assume that it's partially Agatha, because she's at least letting it happen.
Yeah.
So I just don't know why. So how does that help with the plan with us? Or is that not part of the plan? It's just happening and she's just like, all right, well, that's part of the.
Yeah. There's a lot of pressure on these last two, at least for me. there's a lot of pressure on these last
They've
two
got to
episodes.
land the plane.
Yeah.
They've got to land the plane. And if they land the plane, then this is all dope.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I should mention before we get too far past it is when we go down into Agatha's lair, there's a clear shot of a book that's one of those like, this is important. The only thing I can think of with the book is The Darkhold, which is played a significant part of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's a big part of the comics. It's part of the magic. It's basically a book of evil magic, to oversimplify it. And this book does not, it looks significantly cooler than The Darkhold did in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Shocker. But
they have more money?
Oh my God, so much more. I don't know that that's what this is. I also wondered if perhaps it could be a book from, in Doctor Strange, we see all the books that are kept by the magicians, by them. And it could be both of those things. The Darkhold could be a book from there, and that's what this is. It would be interesting if it was the Darkhold, because that is one of the clearer signs of like, oh yeah, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't matter. So I'll be interested to see how that plays out. I'm interested to see what Agatha's end game ever was.
Do you think that Wanda is under Agatha's spell right now?
No.
So you still think Wanda free will did all these things?
I think tricked, maybe manipulated, maybe, but not controlled, right? Like Agatha was smart enough to press the right buttons in her, like just to in conversation, whatever. Like again, like maybe Wanda went to Agatha for help. Agatha was like, well, you could try this, knowing that this would be the result. And so, which then leads me to the question: does this? You have expressed concern throughout about Wanda's culpability in all of this. Does this make you feel better, or are you still
I just don't
concerned?
know what this is yet.
Yeah.
So, some people were tweeting at me,
leave it to Twitter, to being like, so are you pissed that Agatha's crazy woman? It's like so not the same thing. It's not like I'm like, there can't be female villains ever.
Yeah.
That is so not what I said. Just Wanda, hero of our story, been through extreme trauma, don't want to see her go nuts.
Yeah.
Agatha can be a crazy ass bitch if she wants. If she's presented that way, she comes in, she's evil, whatever she is. I don't care that she's a woman. Then you could do whatever you want. I just don't like when we watch these, like the same story over again. Good woman doing all the right things. World gets her down. She rips everybody's heart out.
Yeah.
Because cannot handle.
Yeah, she can't. She has no control over whatever.
Yeah. So to answer your question, DJ, does this make me feel better about that? It depends what this is. I don't have any idea what this is. I don't know whether Agatha's working with somebody else. I don't know whether Agatha had a conversation with Wanda, or whether Agatha planted a seed in Wanda. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. I also got to say real quick, just pet peeve of mine kind of is when a character is like, I'm actually da-da-da. And it's like, but that only means something if you've read the, like you just mentioned like How to Get Away with a Murder. Like what if a character showed up and was like, actually, I'm Jack Dorsey or whatever. And you're like, who? We've never mentioned that character. Who was that? But they treat it like you all know I'm this guy.
Yeah.
Like,
it only works here because of the sitcom element and the theme song and all of that.
The theme song is legitimately great. I have not been humming that theme song, but it segued my brain into humming the Munsters theme song in my brain all morning. Because they're
so great.
Vaguely similar. And of course, like we just mentioned, Catherine Hahn's great, and I'm excited to see her go full villain. What do you think these next two episodes look like? Do you think we kind of like ditch the sitcom element? Are we kind of gonna do what that montage was and like jump through the various sitcoms we've already been in?
I thought that this was gonna be the first part of Act 3, but it feels like it was the last part of Act 2.
Yeah.
So I don't know, because every time I've been like, I think it's about to take a turn, it doesn't really. I mean, I guess this was the biggest reveal we've gotten yet. So what do I think's going to happen? I think we still have, I don't think Agatha is the big bad. I think we still have somebody else coming. I think it is very, very likely that Evan Peters is Mephisto. I think they're going to have some explaining to do if that's the case.
Yeah.
I don't know that we're going to get that explaining, but I think that that's very likely, or that he's somebody and something's happening with Agatha and him, and there's been a team up this whole time. I think that, something I really liked was, because I'm mushy as shit, like I'm a lover of love. I did really like when Darcy was like, after watching the show every episode, one thing's for sure, you and Wanda are in love. And I was like, they are in love. They are. So I do think that this might be a Wanda and Vision having to come together to team up to take down. They just can't do it alone. So insert Doctor Strange, something along those lines situation. So yeah, I kind of picture all of that taking place. And then I think that this leads into the multitude of madness multiverse.
Yeah.
Multiverse of multitudes. What is it?
Multiverse of madness. Yeah.
I think those are my predictions.
I think those are good. I think you're spot on. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Let us know in the comments where you think this will go. Will we ever find out who the engineer was and why he was supposed to be on the ridge and now is not? And what did you all think about the Agatha Harkness reveal? Let us all know all that in the comments down below. Please please subscribe, please share this video. We really appreciate it. And if you want to hear Roxy and I dive into the Zack Snyder trailer or the Mortal Kombat trailer or any of that stuff, you can check out the OSA Cruella. Talk about what we're into this week, go through news and stuff like that. You can do that on the OSA show at patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. We appreciate it, and we'll see y'all next week.